This package arrived from Denmark on October 15, 2025. And as strange as it sounds, I actually had no idea what was inside. The series is called A New Horse in Herd, but this one will actually be the oldest horse in my entire herd. It's new only to me, because in reality it's older than I am. It came to me for retirement, having spent its life as a toy.
Oh, Jesus, co ja widzę? Wow. Wow. Dobra, jestem bardzo ciekawa, co to jest, bo nie wiem, co to jest. Znaczy, to jest koń.
I've never had a horse in this mold before, so this is my first real encounter with it. I'm going to explore it thoroughly. But what kind of horse is it? Good question, because I have no idea. It's very light. Theoretically, it could be Dancer, that's what the seller called it, but that's a bit of a shortcut. Why? Because this horse has no markings or signatures at all. That doesn't mean it's a fake though. The fact is, it's based on the Dancer mold from 1970, but it's probably not an actual Dancer. One leg works correctly, making that characteristic clicking sound when bent. The other is quite loose and doesn't make any sound. The joint connections are painted over, and at first glance I'd say they're made of plastic. The front legs don't move. Someone blocked them. Of course, I won't leave it that way. I have to figure out how to fix it. I keep looking at it and wondering, what kind of horse is this? Alright, since I keep mentioning Dancer, maybe some of you don't know what that means. Dancer was the very first Barbie horse, the first ever in the entire history of Barbie. But I'm not sure this is actually Dancer, even though it looks like one. The saddle seems to come from the second generation Dancer. The mold and color match, and it has markings. Mattel Incorporated, 1976 Taiwan, and some characteristic Barbie numbers. The bridle, however, looks modern, definitely not from the same era. Without some research, I can't say exactly where I've seen it before, but I'm certain it's not original. It's too flexible, seems too short, and just looks more contemporary, at least to me. So, as we can see, there is a problem with the front legs. They should move, but they don't. Someone bent them too far backward and locked them in place. And the most important question, why does it have black socks? No Dancer ever had markings on the legs. The saddle has a marking suggesting the year 1976. Could that be a clue? But look, such an old saddle, and it's still complete. It even has both stirrups. That's probably because the material it's made of is very flexible and durable. Could the bridle actually be original after all? No, I don't think so. It's impossible. It would probably have the same color and type of plastic as the saddle. As for the mold itself, we've got plastic hair here. What I know is that the first Dancer had a hole in the belly, the second one didn't. But I still don't believe this horse was made for Barbie. What's interesting are the bottoms of the legs. That's what really amazed me when I opened the box. They have beautifully detailed horseshoes, and inside them you can even see hoof texture. one leg doesn't make a clicking sound, but it does spring back. It won't stay in the position I want to set it in. Sorry for poking around between its hind legs like that, but they are really loose and wobbly, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Are they supposed to be that loose? This is the maximum range of motion they have in this direction, but as you can see, they don't want to stay in position. The articulation itself looks pretty cool, but why are the head and neck completely stiff? There are no details on the plastic, no grooves, no sculpted texture, nothing. There is no characteristic narrowing either. The mane and tail are realistic, not unnaturally long like on later Barbie horses. The color of the plastic matches the younger dancer, but most likely this is actually a big gym horse. I will explain that later, because those horses were identical. The saddle might suggest it's a Barbie horse, but what points more toward Big Jim are the black markings on the legs, since Dancer only had black hooves. One thing's for sure, it has a very nice head. It's not that typically Barbie horse kind of head you see in later years. It doesn't have as many small details as later Prancers, and there are no holes in the ears either. Overall, it's not a bad looking horse. In photos, I didn't think it looked particularly attractive, but it's not nearly as bad as I expected. I don't know why older horses always seem kind of ugly in pictures to me. It definitely needs a wash, and those legs need fixing, because right now it looks crippled. I have no idea why or how someone mistreated it like that. I just hope it's not glued together. And what more can I say? We have a saying in Polish: everyone sees what a horse is like. Let's check the maximum range of motion in its joints. Intrigued. What kind of horse is this? Those black legs on a dancer? No way. One thing's for sure, it's a relic of the past, and for its age I can't say it's in bad shape, considering it was used as a toy all this time. The saddle is really flexible and has a texture on top that resembles real leather. I also wanted to take a closer look at its eyes. They're the most worn out part, almost crying for help. And there are a few lighter streaks in the mane and tail that could really use a touch-up. It also seems quite tall, though that might just be an illusion caused by the locked joints. Now it's time for a wash, which makes this the perfect moment to tell the story of this mysterious horse. Doing deep research took me quite some time, and putting everything together in a logical way, plus writing out the full text, took an entire day. Even so, I still feel like it's all a bit chaotic, so sorry. Let's start from the very beginning. From the ancestor of this mold, the very first Barbie horse, a mare named Dancer, released in 1970. Back then, Mattel went through a live-action phase, a line of mechanical platforms for dolls, allowing them to move so it looked as if they were dancing or moving on their own. Dancer also had such a platform, and on the back of her box you can see the full lineup of live-action products. Dancer had a dark brown, almost chocolate-colored body and a hole in her belly, used to attach her to the movement platform. So my horse can't be the first Dancer. It doesn't have the hole and the color is different, though it clearly belongs to that same family. In 1972, Mattel introduced a new line of action figures called Big Jim. These were toys mainly aimed at boys, something along the lines of G.I. Joe or Action Man. The figures were 10 inches tall, so slightly smaller than the 12-inch Barbie dolls. In 1975, a new themed line appeared under a separate label, based on the novels of Karl May. It was a Wild West universe featuring cowboy Old Shatterhand and the Apache chief Winnetou as the main characters. This line was called Karl May, came in distinct packaging from the Big Jim series, and was distributed across Europe, mainly in countries where Karl May's books were popular. We're talking exclusively about the European market here. The Karl May series was sold in West Germany, Belgium, France and the Netherlands. In Italy and Spain, however, it was incorporated into the Big Jim line. In Italy, it was called Big Jim's Friends of the West. And here comes a bit of a paradox. If everyone was friends, then who are they supposed to fight? To fix that logical issue, the ads mention a mysterious Dr. Steele who was said to be the enemy of all, although he didn't actually appear among the Western characters. And a small edit here. While editing the video, I dug a little deeper and it turns out that Dr. Steele really did exist as a character, but he had nothing to do with the Wild West. He was actually the nemesis of Big Jim himself, the main hero of the entire toy line, not our cowboy. But since our cowboy and Winnetou were both Jim's friends, naturally his enemy became their enemy too. In Spain, the series was called Oeste, which simply means West. It's worth mentioning that in Spain, Mattel's toys were produced and distributed by a company called Congost, whose logo also appeared on the packaging. It's also important to note that Karl May novels had inspired a series of movies in the 1960s, popular westerns of their time. So children back then knew these characters not only from the books, but also from the movie screens. In Italy and Spain, the characters' names were changed. Old Shatterhand became Dakota Joe, and Winnetou became Geronimo. But okay, let's get to the point. Where are the horses in all this? Well, it's the Wild West, so of course there had to be horses. The main characters needed their trusty mounts. Old Shatterhand's horse was a bay stallion named Hatatitla, a brown horse with a black mane, tail, stockings and hoofs. Winnetou's horse was a black mare with white socks named Ilchi. In Italy and Spain, Hatatitla was renamed Tempest, and Ilchi became Pinto. If that already sounds complicated, you were right, but we're not done yet. All of these horses used the same mold as 1970 Dancer. Outside the Karl May line, other characters were introduced. Original creations, not based on the novels. Naturally, there were more horses too. One was Amigo, also a bay horse, and another was Fury. Amigo looked like Hatatitla, except his leg markings were taller, like long stockings, while Hatatitla only had short socks. Fury, on the other hand, looked like one of the later versions of Dancer, a brown horse with a black mane and tail, black hooves and no markings on the legs. And we're still not at the end of this tangled web. Another edit from the editing stage. The deeper you dig, the more you find, and I realize it would be silly not to mention the rest of the horses now that I've brought up the topic. Take a look at this. It's a page from a German catalog. Here we have Amigo with a jockey in a western saddle. A jockey in a western saddle. No one sees a problem here? Next to him, there is Ilchi, but she's not even called Pinto here. She's Starfire. Thankfully, at least, she's being ridden by some kind of Native American. Some sources claim that under that name, this horse was released in the US. But since this isn't an English language catalog, something doesn't quite add up. Looking back at Amigo, in this picture, he has a more yellowish tone and visible shading. This version of the horse appeared in this box, simply described as Big Jim's horse, completely nameless, and its color was referred to as curry. But the same horse also appeared in box labeled Fury, this time called Thunder. Actually, most of the time Thunder looked like this. The last horse from the Big Jim line was Tornado, also known as Ouragan, and it was the only horse in the series to feature real hair in its mane and tail. So all the other horses made from this mold that I haven't mentioned yet were Barbie horses, and we'll get to those in a moment. For now, let's leave the others aside and focus on Hatatitla, because that's the one I believe I have. In 1976-77, this horse had black socks and metal joints. In later years, the legs were painted halfway up and the joints were made of plastic. While washing my horse, I noticed that his joints are indeed metal. Also, horses with plastic joints didn't have any visible joint marks on the body. Nowadays, most Hatatitlas offered in listings have legs painted halfway and plastic joints. Those are the collector's editions that survived with their boxes and accessories, and they all date from the later production period. Finding an explanation for why the leg painting differed wasn't easy, but I eventually came across one on a site dedicated mainly to toy horses. It sounded logical and made sense to me. The Hatatitla box itself is confusing. On the front, the horse's legs are mostly black, but on the side photos, the horse only has black fetlocks. Why isn't my horse Dancer? Well, later Dancers did come in a color similar to mine, but their legs weren't painted, only the hooves were, and they had markings on their hind legs. Big Jim horses often didn't have any markings at all. Here's what Dancer II looked like in its first version. It had metal joints and a side saddle. Sometimes Dancer came with two saddles in one set, Western and side saddle or Western and English saddle. Dancer II in its next incarnation came with the same saddle that arrived with my Hatatitla, though that version already had plastic joints. And as you can see, none of them had painted legs. So that wraps up my search. I own a Hatatitla from 1976 or 1977, and I really hope my conclusion is correct and that no one will come at me in the comments listing yet another set of mix-ups, errors or changes in this horse's production. Okay, well, technically it could also be Tempest, but I prefer the original name from the novels. So to me, he will always be Hatatitla. Time to rinse the horse and the accessories. It's going to get a bit darker now because I had to unplug the lamp to turn on the hairdryer. I'm heating up the blocked joint and will try to reposition it in the way it's supposed to be. I really don't want to hurt him. I just want to help. I will try to grease the surface a little so it can slide back into place more easily, but it still doesn't seem to be enough. I really don't want to break him, but I can feel that the body might crack a little on one side anyway. As you can see, I considered pulling out the pin, but it didn't respond to pressure at all. So I went back to heating it up. The plastic feels like the material used in old Barbie bodies, very hard. I will heat it up again. Did it work? Well, yes, it cracked, but just a little, and the leg moves. What about the other one? I will heat it up a bit more. And it worked without another crack. Finally, the legs moved the way they should. That crack isn't terrible, it doesn't bother me. What matters is that the horse regained mobility. The broken piece of plastic is still there. I'll take it out later and try to glue it back. The main thing is it worked. I'm so happy. It was quite a precise job, but I managed to remove that broken piece and glue it back with a super glue off camera. Now it's time to restore the paint. I think I'll use undiluted black acrylic paint. It will cover faster and won't run, starting with the eyes. Since I'm already here, I'll do the forelock now. Now the other side. This eye had lost almost all of its paint. He's starting to see again. Now for the mane. The tail also needs some touch-ups. The legs only have a few tiny chips. I decided not to touch the horseshoes or the joint connectors. Back to the mane again. And finally, I apply a coat of glossy varnish to the eyes. That will give them a natural shine. I only apply the varnish to the eyes themselves. And that's pretty much it when it comes to working on the horse. He is washed, cleaned up, and can now move his front legs again. The little surgical complication, that cracked piece, has also been fixed. There is a small mark left. Maybe I could have done it more gently, but it is what it is. Honestly, even without that piece, he looked fine. He's been through a lot. He's got his years. He's done his duty. Probably carried his cowboy at first, and later was treated as a dancer and served the dolls. In a way, he is Dancer's brother, since they share the same mold. But he's a brave cowboy horse, Hatatitla. Just look at how beautifully those eyes shine. It completely changes his expression, and only one coat of varnish was enough. I slightly polished the scratches near the joints on this side, just enough to remove the lighter scuffs. On the other side, I haven't touched them. As you can see, he stands just fine on his own. Only one hind leg doesn't look properly. Although, from the camera's point of view, it's probably better if he lies down. And now, time to dress him up a little. As you already know, he arrived with a bridle that I immediately recognized as being much younger than him. And after checking, I was right. I actually have a horse with the same bridle, and it's Baya. So the bridle is from 2004 from one of the Barbie girl horses. As you could see in the photos, his original saddle, bridle and reins were dark brown. I have a very similar set from Barbie's horse, Dallas. It's a bit too light for Hatatitla. It almost blends with his color, but that's the only one I've got. The reins are also slightly different. The holes for the dolls or figures' hands vary in size and placement. It just so happens that I have one old rein. That's probably the color Hatatitla originally had. As you can see, it still has those tiny plastic tabs that once attached it to the spur. The whole placement is also different. The darker rein is just slightly shorter than the lighter ones, but only by a bit. The bridle differs from the original not only in color, the noseband is also different. The original one should be segmented with shallow grooves, while this one has raised segmented bars. As we know, he arrived with an English-style saddle from Dancer, but that doesn't really fit a Western horse. Luckily, I had a spare Western saddle. It's probably also from Dallas. Unfortunately, the girth is silver, but it's from the same type of saddle. For a long time, I wondered about those two small holes that also appear in later saddles of this kind. And only now, while researching all this about Hatatitla, I found out what they were for. To secure the doll or figure in the saddle, you thread a plastic strap through them to keep the rider in place. The Karl May Big Jim horses also came with silver stickers to decorate the saddle, bridle and reins, something Barbie horses didn't have. How do I know this saddle belongs to Barbie? Because it has two holes for the stirrup straps, technically called fenders. As I mentioned earlier, Big Jim figures were smaller than Barbie dolls, so one higher hole was enough for them. Barbie has longer legs, so they added another slot lower down. There is one more difference. If you look at the saddle from the horse's head side, right under the horn, exactly where my left index finger is now, the Big Jim saddle has that area filled in, while the Barbie saddle is missing that piece, leaving a little gap instead. Hatatitla originally came only with the bridle, reins and saddle. You just put the saddle straight on his back and he was ready for his rider. But I feel a bit sorry for him. Just a bare saddle right on his back, so I decided to make him a pad. One side is felt, the other is a suit-like fabric, the same material I recently used to make Sky's saddle pad. I hand sew it with embroidery floss. Western pads are usually patterned and colorful, but I didn't have anything like that on hand. I think this one will do just fine. Yeah, fastening bridles and saddles, that's something I just love. Right? And so Hatatitla refresh is coming to an end. I will attach the reins so they don't dangle. These holes are also used to clip the reins together to keep them from slipping off. What I'm holding right now are tapaderos, covers for the stirrups and the rider boots. They protect from bushes, cacti and branches and also help prevent the rider's foot from slipping out of the stirrup. And that's how I rescued yet another horse. My stable is kind of like a rescue shelter. A few shots from the autumn garden. As I mentioned before, Hatatitla is extremely light. Setting him up on the uneven grass wasn't easy, especially with the wind. Lately, I haven't had much patience, but I still managed to capture a few clips. And you're probably wondering, what kind of name is Hatatitla? It actually comes from Nahuatl, one of the oldest Aztec languages, still alive and spoken today. And Hatatitla means lightning or thunderbolt. And that's all for now. I hope this video brought you something interesting. The research and sorting through all those conflicting sources took me quite a bit of time. This horse has a fascinating story, and I'm really happy I managed to solve the mystery. You know what I found the most amazing about this series? The Vacon. It came with a full harness modeled after a real one. It even had a fabric cover, and the accessories included things like pots and even a campfire. Toys from that era were truly incredible. In general, the Big Jim series is appreciated for its attention to detail. Did you know they even had fashion packs like Barbie? Amazing, isn't it? To those who made it all the way through, thank you so much, and thank you for all the likes, comments and subscriptions. If you haven't joined my subscribers yet, please consider it, because soon, most likely, there'll be another video about yet another interesting horse.